that time of year again. Back to the Palouse. Got here yesterday. Went and shot sunset from Steptoe Butte. Now I am at Steptoe Butte, but I'm not driving up. I'm walking up this hillside here, and that will get me closer to the rolling hills, so I can kind of compress them a little more. Because every year I always go all the way up to the top. Try to do something a little different this year. Except it's kind of hard because it's only like 10 after 4 in the morning. Up at 3:30, got my stuff together, drove for half an hour, now I'm here. So, and I'm walking uphill. I'm getting kind of tired. However, like I said, it's something different this year. Should be kind of nice. I looked at the fields yesterday, and they're all really green this year. Whereas last year, I walked up here and they're all just brown fields. Because they rotate their fields every year. So, hopefully I'll be up there soon and get all set up. So I just got set up. You can see what I've got going on. So this year I rented the Sigma 150 to 600 lens from Glazer's Camera. So far pretty happy with it. Downside is it is really big, and so it does vibrate in the wind. So what I'm doing is I just put it on continuous shutter speed and just fire off like 4 or 5 shots. And usually the center 2 will be in focus. So it's kind of the easy way to get around the camera shake with the wind. Weird thing is this year it's very warm up here. I'm usually freezing to death when I'm up here in the morning, but this year it's like, it was almost 60 degrees when I got here. The wind is blowing though, so I have my hat on and a little windbreaker here. So now I'm just waiting for the sun to come up, and you can see we do have, looks like some color showing up. So hopefully I can get some of that. Hopefully it'll show up a little better. So you can see where everybody else goes. And that's where I was last night. They all drive up because you kind of get a better look, but I've never been over to this area because like I said, last year this was all brown. So, but this year they rotated the field, so now it's all green. So now I can, you know, kind of get lower and compress the fields a little better just for a different look. So I'm just gonna sit here and wait for the sun to come up. So we're starting to get some color. You can see out there, it's lighting up. So over that way we have Justin Resnick and his group. Back this way we have Jim Patterson with Sea to Summit. Photo tours and workshops. Both really good photographers, amazing photographers. Justin does pretty much all landscape and a little bit of wildlife. Jim does some underwater stuff, which is amazing. Then just a bunch of landscapes, seascapes, kind of normal stuff. So what I've got going on, you can see f8, ISO 800, 1/40th of a second. You can see with the color, I'm just kind of zoomed in on this tree here. You can see we've got a tree down there, little silos, got all kinds of stuff to use. So I'm just waiting for the sun to actually come up and light up everything. Nice gold color, hopefully, but the clouds may obscure the light a little bit. There's the sun, it's coming up. So you can see I've got 1/60th of a second, f8, ISO 250. I'm bracketing my exposure 2 stops above and below. That way I can get the nice color in the fields and then the dark sky, so I don't blow out highlights or clip shadows or anything. So now it's just a waiting game again. Now that's up, I am just going to wait for the color to start drifting across the hillsides. So the light's starting to hit the hillsides. You can see you get the shadows and the yellow, and of course it is a little diffused because of the clouds, which is kind of a bummer because the gold light really makes these hills pop. So now, I don't know if you can see this or not, but you can see what I've got going on. Kind of this leading line kind of shifts around. It's that line down there that I'm shooting right now. You can see 1/25th of a second, ISO 800, f9. See where my histogram is. It is a little far to the left, but it's still enough detail I can pull out the shadows and bring everything back. So now it's just working composition, see what I can find. There's some brown over there. See right beside that house, so kind of the brown with the green. Always looks pretty good. The tree and the silo are kind of lighting up a little bit. Just these hills right here have the nice shadows in the light. So I'm just gonna keep working at it. Heading back to my car. Light's pretty much done. A little bit of shadow left, not much, but I'm getting hungry. Time for breakfast. It's about 10 to 6. I'm going to go to Colfax, and there's an old barn with an old truck right there. I want to shoot that before a lot of people get there, and then kind of ruin it for me. But otherwise, good shot. Shots this morning. I got quite a few compositions, different leading lines, trees, silos, all that. Compressed the hillsides, and then took a lot of photos. I filled up one card already, which with my Sony I get basically 376 photos per card at shooting raw. So I just had to switch that out. Second battery's almost dead. But otherwise, good morning. Got some good color in the sky. Now we're off to Colfax. So I was on my way to Colfax, and there's this lone tree I've been looking for. When you're up on Steptoe Butte, you can see it. And I finally figured out where it was. So I drove out, and now I'm going to shoot it. Now the sun where it is, should be able to get some starbursts. It's a backlit tree, so that should work out pretty good. Then head to Colfax, shoot the barn and the old truck. So we'll see how this turns out first. So I've taken a few photos now, and I've gotten a good starburst. I don't know if you can see that very well. You can see the starburst. So the trick to getting those is anywhere around like f18 to f22 works really well for aperture. And then with something like this, as you look around, you can see all the shadows. So you just kind of put yourself between the shadows where the light's coming through. That'll be a good spot to get a sunburst. And you also want to make sure the sun is partially blocked. If it's just a full-on sun, you're not going to get a good starburst. You kind of, I'm using the leaves or the branches or the trunk or something of the tree to block it. And I'm also bracketing my shots. If you don't bracket, then you're not going to be able to get a good shot. It'll be too blown out or too dark. So you can see, hopefully you can see this. So that's the bright one you can see. If I go to display, see all the black blinking around? Those are blown out highlights. Because I'm bracketing, so now there's a little less blinkies. I think the dark one now is blinking. Mostly the black areas are blinking. But this way I can blend the three together and get a proper exposure. So here's the old truck in the barn. It's kind of a bummer because this truck used to be up close to the road, and there's two of them. They're angled much better, but now they just stuck it right there. So I just upped my 16 to 35 lens. Just couldn't really get anything that I really like, so I'm trying my 70 to 200 now. It's kind of compress the image a little bit, maybe get more of the barn. I may go up to that little hill right behind me, see how that looks. But for now, I'm just gonna keep shooting. Not too much longer. Downside is if I'm really close to the barn, my shadow gets in my photos, the way the sun is. But I also wanted to get here before a bunch of people did as well. So that's where I'm at, and we're gonna keep at it. Came out to the old Weber house in the Palouse. See it right there. Been shooting infrared, so you can see what the photos look like on the back of the camera. And then when I get them in the Lightroom and Photoshop, it looked like it's snow on the ground. The green turns to white, and the sky will turn either a kind of a super bright blue or a black, depending if I go black and white or false color. One thing about this house though, just be respectful of it. There's been reports of photographers that will go inside it, wander all through the hillside here just to get a different composition, but this is private property. You can see it's posted right there, so just stay behind the line, stay on the road, be respectful as a photographer. Like I say, the worst thing about photography is photographers. So Now we are off. I think we're gonna go hit some, there's an old Lutheran church, like the Cordelia Church, I think. Something like that. Maybe I'll have Dina drive this time, since she's already in the driver's seat. I can just jump in the passenger seat and shoot photos while we're driving. So here is the Cornelia Lutheran Church. Built in like the 1800s. Just shot a bunch of infrared. Now we are going, I guess there's another barn down the road, as Jim Patterson told us today. Somewhere that way. So we're gonna head that way and see what we can find. Otherwise there's more barns back that way. And this is also the oldest standing church in Idaho. That's kind of an interesting fact. So now we're off. Just finished shooting sunset, went back up to Steptoe Butte. The sun, there was no color in the sky. And then now the rain is slowly starting to come, which would be good because the air quality is pretty bad, a lot of haze. However, we did get a lot of sun rays, both going down and up. So that was pretty cool. So I got some nice shots of that, did a bunch of bracketing so I can get all the colors and all the dynamic range in the photos. So now there's just a bunch of us heading back. I think there's probably 30 photographers up there or more. But anyway, it was a good time. Now I'm just heading back. I just got the word apparently it's raining pretty hard in Pullman, which is good, so maybe my car will get cleaned off a little bit. So now, see if I feel like getting up for sunrise in the morning. So Sunday morning, came out for one last sunrise before I drive back to Seattle. Down this dirt road, I found this river the other day. Winds up in to the sunrise, but fortunately with the clouds, they're just gonna kill off the sunrise. But if I get lucky, maybe those ones up there will kind of light up, but who knows. Anyways, this is what I'm shooting. So you can see I've got 1.5 seconds, f8 ISO 200. I could bump up my ISO and drop the shutter speed a little bit, but I may have to with the way the grass is moving. I may have to try and get a really fast photo to still the grass, and then I can use the longer exposure for this water and the clouds. So there is an old barn up that way. So when I'm done here, on my way back to Pullman, I'm gonna stop, shoot that for a little bit once the sun comes up. So until then, I'm just gonna keep working this. The one thing when you're shooting bridges like this, you gotta make sure these posts aren't in your photo. When I first started shooting here, it was pretty dark. And then as it started to light up, I noticed there was one of these posts right in the corner of my frame. So I had to fix that. So I moved my composition a little bit. So I'm gonna sit and shoot this for a little bit. Hope the clouds light up and then move up to the barn. So I moved spots a little bit. I came up, I was down kind of around the corner there, but I came up. So this little bend in the river here, you can see an old train bridge there. We are getting a little color in the sky, but of course it's not the direction I'm facing, or there's, as you can see, there's nothing to shoot anyways. But it doesn't really matter because this wind is atrocious today. I've had good luck the whole time, just no wind until yesterday and today. Of course, yesterday it was pouring down rain. So I'm just gonna sit here for a little bit, take a few more shots, and try and do a panorama, just kind of get more of the clouds, but we'll see. And then I'll head up to that old barn, but I don't know if I'll be able to shoot much there. Just this wind is just blowing everything around, but I'll give it a try. May just have to bump up my ISO and drop my aperture, get a super fast shutter speed. So see what happens. So I came to the barn. You can see it is right here. Then you have these little pink flowers and the, well, you see a little bit of color up in the sky. So I'm kind of doing a bit of a panorama just to kind of give it a little more width and depth. So I basically take a shot and I pan it over this way, take another shot, and I'll stitch them together in Lightroom. But the trick is, you can see here how it's not quite level. I don't know if you can see that. So I have to adjust my level each time, because you can see my tripod is not all that level. So you just adjust that each time, and then take another photo, then move it again, take another photo. So that's what I'm working on now, and hopefully this wind will die down a little bit so I can get more photos. So you can see we have some nice clouds up there, kind of good texture. So I took a shot with a fast shutter speed so I could freeze all the flowers and everything down the bottom. And now I'm doing an 8-minute exposure with the Lee Super Stopper so I can get the movement in the clouds. So hopefully that'll look pretty good. And then also I noticed as I turned around, just the road, how it kind of winds around. So I took a couple photos of that. Had to bracket that exposure due to the sun sticking through the clouds, so I did. So I usually do like 3 photos with 2 stops in between each one, but I'm trying 5 photos of 1 stop in between, just to give me a little bit more dynamic range. Downside to it is that they're 82 megabyte files a piece, so burns up a lot of hard drive space. So I'm going to shoot this for a while, for probably another 6 minutes. Hopefully that'll turn out pretty good. And then head down the road, maybe find something else, another little barn before I head home. So I think I'm finished up here in the Palouse for 2018. Got some pretty good shots. Fortunately, we had some pretty bad weather yesterday, but at least the air is clear now. First couple days, it was just kind of hazy because there's so much dust and stuff in the air because it hadn't rained for so long. So anyway, thanks for watching. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram and Facebook at Bott Photography. And here are some of the photos I took.